Hey, Vinny, Melkus Outdoors. Again, my lighting is horrible. I blew a circuit here in my apartment. I plugged a light in, and the thing went haywire. One of the wires must have touched, and it started shooting out little red things. And anyway, it, like tripped the circuit breaker. So we're down a couple lights. It's not like this is the best area to do anything anyway. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you about the schedule that just came out for the Elite Series in 2023. Just kind of go over it and, I guess do a little different kind of bitching about the schedule than normally. Normally, every year, we look at the schedule, and us guys from out west, we sit here and we complain that they never come out west. And it's even more so when they come out with the open scheduled, or like on the MLF, they come out with, their not Stream Series, but whatever, their Toyota Series schedules, or the pro circuit. We look at that and we usually complain that they're not giving us much love, even though there's some burgeoning, there's some new tournament, I guess newer tournament circuits and older ones that are revitalizing the Western game a little bit, which is good. Wild West, One Bass, talked about them in the past. But anyway, so this time when I look at the Elite Series schedule, and I'm kind of flabbergasted to a certain extent, but then I guess not surprised, considering the shift, it seems, in professional fishing to more of an Eastern-centric model when it comes to what we consider the top tours in the sport, which is Bass and FLW, or MLF. Not MLF. They own FLW now. But we consider those two the top, and then, as part of the MPFL is kind of this new beast. And they've been at least moving around a little bit, but I won't even count them right now yet, because just the things have happened over the last year or so with that organization. But we'll count Bass and MLF because they're considered the top dogs, and it seems as though they've slowly driven themselves to live in this eastern part of the U.S., whether that be mainly in the southeast, and then a few stops in the north there for, just to get away from the heat for some smallmouth stuff. But anyway, let's go into it. So this thing starts in February, and it is a slight change. I'm going to give them a little bit of credit because, what I've noticed, and I don't know, you can look back and maybe it is, the Harris change has been getting beat up. It gets beat up by multiple circuits, and it's nice to see that, there's a body of water called Lake Okeechobee down there, and like we can hit that thing. So they're doing that. Which that should be a good event. There's always possibilities of really getting to a super mega bag there. But you'll see there's a theme starting to develop even after number one, because in my head, when you say, okay, yeah, Florida swing, but then where are they going the second one? Well, they're going to be at Lake Seminole, Georgia. Pretty much up the road, I guess. It's a significant distance, but you're in Georgia. You're still in the east part of the U.S., the southeast, which is fine to keep those events since they're sequential, because you're going February 16th to the 19th, tournament dates to essentially a week later. So travel time, you got to think about that. So I understand like booking those two events like that kind of makes sense. Not that, to me, it's like, well, we're doing early in the year and we're still in the southeast where we always go, instead of maybe, just in my mind, this isn't really this plan. I'd be like, well, maybe we try Texas. Texas is number one state right now to me in big bass right now. Things are happening in Texas. It's happened the last few years. There's great bodies of water there. There's ample opportunity. There's they want these type of events there. They have, we're talking about the Game and Fish. They're doing such a great job in proliferating bass and large bass, and why they don't do something out there that kind of baffles me to a certain extent, or do it on certain lakes that are really been producing these double-digit bass. Maybe not. I know there's a couple of small lakes that are really producing, but there's some large bodies of water there that can host an Elite Series event that are producing those, that are known to and do produce those types of bags. But anyway, okay, so they go to Lake Seminole. Then you have the Classic a month later. That's in the Tennessee River. Which, I don't, with the Classic, I don't mind. I don't really care if they go to a big bass fishery. What I really want to see is, the best of the best. The guys are qualified, duking it out on maybe a hard fishery or something like that. That's the type of thing I don't mind seeing in the Classic. And I don't, I'm not necessarily saying that's hard fishery, but it's gonna be interesting. I don't Tennessee River to me is not really known as a big bass factory for that time of year. But in March, late March, you're gonna see that pre-spawn, and maybe you get some big bags. Pre-spawn, spawn, possibly. We'll see. But here we go. Now that the pattern is developed, we get to see what's going on. This is where I start having my criticisms more of what the elite schedule is laying out for us. So we go the month after that in April. You go to South Carolina. You go to Lake Murray. Not saying that these are bad fisheries. They're good fisheries. Don't get me wrong. It's just like we're just staying over in this area for months on end. So anyway, April 20th to 23rd, Lake Murray. That ought to be a really good one. And then the next week, we go to Santee Cooper, which I understand like booking them so that, the travel's not, you're going to book them the next week on week or week after week, then you don't want them to travel that far. So that's, you don't want the anglers to have to travel that far. So that's not bad. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying that maybe you pick, different bodies of water or maybe schedule just a little differently. But anyway, back to back. So then you got Santee Cooper, which that should be a shootout. You should be, maybe even, April 27th through the 30th, you're going to have a wave of spawners. You're going to have post spawners. You're going to still have maybe a few of this pre spawners. It's going to be a shootout there. There's going to probably be some really massive bags, to be totally honest. Probably going to be a good tournament. My only criticism is it's all East Coast. Like literally every one besides the Classic, if you take just the Elite Series events, every one of those states has a coast line on an ocean on the East Coast. Okay, this is what I'm getting at. So, not to mention the next one. So here we go to Alabama, which I guess you're going in or a little bit. They still got a coastline on the Gulf, but you go to Lay Lake. It's gonna be an interesting tournament. I'm just not super thrilled that we're just staying in these, the East Coast. We're now into May, into the this is the fifth event, and they haven't left they haven't really gone anywhere since from the southwest or southwest. I wish they'd go to southwest. Okay, so that's May. Then you get actually a pretty decent break for the guys, and you go to the Sabine River, which, God, I don't understand why they keep going to the Sabine River. The fishing is not that great there. If you ever talk to some of these guys, like the river kind of sucks. I mean, there's a lot of smaller fish. It's not a bad, I like those kind of shootout lakes, but you're going to Texas, man. Texas right now is the preeminent trophy bass state in the country. It used to be California. California's still probably second. It just doesn't get as much play. And there's, a lot of other stuff going on in California that is hindering the bass fishing. But Texas is where it's at. And they go to the Sabine River, where you're not going to even showcase this, the strides that Texas has made in their trophy fisheries, is, to me, it's kind of a slap in the face a little bit. But at least you're going out west a little bit, if you call that out west, the Sabine River. But you just think about it. I don't know if any are familiar with Texas bodies of water, but just off the top of my head, you got Rayburn, you got Toledo Bend. You can even go to smaller bodies of water. In PFO, we were there right Patman. You got lakes like that around there. I think there's like another one called, not Torrey Pond. Maybe it's Torrey Pond. There's a couple other larger bodies of water that are kind of sleepers. They have large bass. And quite a few of them. The Elite Series field, less than 100 boats. You could do so. And also, not only that, you still have the capabilities of streaming, and just a little bit. I think there'd be a little bit more support, possibly in some of these other areas. But hey, whatever. Bass did what they did. I guess they must have a really good contract to Sabine River, because they keep going back there, despite the kind of lack of real presence of large fish. But anyway, okay. That's about as far west as they go, and then here we go to the diversity of the schedule, where they go up north and they go to Lake Sinclair, which they haven't. I don't think they've been to Lake Sinclair in a little while, so I guess that's okay. You go to Lake Champlain after that. Then you go to St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence, let's talk about some of these northern fisheries. Let me just go into some of these besides the Champlain. Champlain, that's an awesome fishery. It's got, you could win that thing on largemouth or smallmouth. Just depends on what's going on there. But, it's a dynamic fishery. It's seems to have a good populace now. But you go into sorry, I don't know what the heck that is. You're gonna go into where is it? St. Clair, though. St. Clair and St. Lawrence. St. Lawrence has been beat up like a redhead stepchild the last few years with so many tournaments there. It's ridiculous. They ought to just leave that alone for just a little bit. Go somewhere else up there, even if they want to, where they can go further west inland. There's plenty of bodies of water. They can take less than 100 boats and have a great tournament. But I've seen numerous videos of some of these tournaments are going in there. I don't know if Bass is one of them or whatnot. I know some of these were like Toyota Series where they're actually, the fish aren't surviving that well because they're being caught deep and there's not proper fish care. I'm just saying that you get so many tournaments, there's some mortality there, and fish get beat up and it's just not the same. St. Clair maybe is not that way right now, and that might be interesting because I haven't been there in a while. But I'm saying St. Lawrence, they probably should do something else, like just figure something out. There's plenty of bodies of water that, yes, they're not as well known now, but now the St. Lawrence River is well known. It's been beat up. It needs rest. Just go somewhere else, a little bit different. I understand the smallmouth is great there. There's other places that have great smallmouth that it just, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, but I guess since they're going to Champlain and then the next week they're going there, it's right by there. So I understand the scheduling like that. It really helps the guys out when it comes to travel costs, but it would be nice to see a little bit more diversity in the schedule because now it's pretty standard. You're just staying in the southeast for the majority of the season, and then in the middle of the summer you run up and you have a few smallmouth tournaments in the same areas that you normally have these smallmouth tournaments at. Besides, a couple times Oahe, which that really hasn't shown out. It's an awesome fishery. All those Missouri River chains are awesome fisheries. They just really haven't shown out, and it's a shame that they're not going back out to something like that. But there's other fisheries that maybe they didn't get the audience they wanted this year on that South Dakota tournament like they did the last time they were there. But they have other fisheries that they could go to that would have giant smallmouth. Or for that matter, even a summer largemouth. And shoot, they can go to the Ozarks if they want to and have a good tournament and good coverage, cell phone service coverage, good turnout for fan base. But anyway, I'm going to leave you there. Peace.